we do have our reporter who's stationed outside the house of the late Minister Gordhan. Let's take you live there. Hasina, a very good afternoon to you once again. So I've spotted quite a few dignitaries arriving there, mainly from the ANC. I'm talking Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, Veterans League's Mavuso Msimang, as well as the SG Fikile Mbalula. What can you tell us at this stage?
Yes, Alicia, as we mentioned just in the last hour since we last spoke, we've seen quite a hive of activity starting outside the home of the former late minister. And now seeing a lot of the dignitaries, as you mentioned, from the African National Congress, where he was a long-serving member. He only retired this year in May following the last election, so 5 months ago. And then he's been battling his sickness, which he succumbed to in the early hours of this morning. We know from what we've heard from the family statement is that he passed on peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by his loved ones, including family members, his long-time friends and comrades. He served as an activist from ahead of the 1994 dawn of democracy, really fighting for transformation, for equality in the country. But yes, as you mentioned, these ANC delegates coming here to pay their regards. We spoke with the provincial leadership earlier on, just telling us that they wanted to tell the family and thank them for giving them and borrowing them Pravin Gordhan, who gave his life and service 50 years into activism, really giving to the country, and they wanted to really give their heartfelt gratitude to the family, speaking on his leadership, saying that he was one who was very critical, someone who was very honest, and that the future generations can take and learn from this. At that time, we saw Premier Panyaza Lesufi, we also saw the SG Fikile Mbalula coming through here. We're hoping to speak with them. They are behind those gates. We're told they will be coming out in a few moments. We also know there were religious leaders that came through to give solace to the family during this time, to hold their hands as they make peace with what has happened right now, but really hearing from the members that they want to come here and hold the hands of the family, to give them support in this time of their grief as they pay their last respects as well. We've heard from President Cyril Ramaphosa earlier saying that there will be a state funeral on Thursday in Durban, so the next few days being an emotional time. But I'm sure you are able to see my colleague Neo is giving you a view of the gate there. We're seeing stalwart Mavuso Msimang coming out. I hope to speak to him during this time. We did try to speak to him ahead of when he entered. He's now come out, and we will get commentary from him. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you.
No, we do it together. It's fine. We do it together. Hasina, you still live? You can go. And Tati Mavuso, it is lovely to see you under these circumstances. You have always been such a supporter of former, speaking of him in the past tense, former Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan. And I'd love to know what you had to share with the family.
Yes, because our president is here, Snooky, I represented the Veterans League. And what we said was that there was really no one quite like him, or very few. We've lost a patriot, we've lost a freedom fighter, we've lost a strong campaigner against corruption, and we've lost a South African who happens to be of Indian heritage. So, freedom fighter, there was a time when if he had been caught, that was in the 80s, the struggle would have been set back by quite a bit, because he was the only link, the main link with the liberation struggle abroad. So he was moving from place to place at great risk. He was very involved in getting people out through Swaziland to exile. They will tell their stories. I wish somebody could read the book called Beyond Fear, which is about Ibrahim. You would get quite a bit about the history of this man. He was an achiever, takes SARS, such as it was at the time, very ordinary, drab Department of Government, and elevates it to a point where, by acknowledgement internationally, it was among the top 5 revenue collectors on earth. And many have come back since to find out how the South Africans were doing it. Corruption. It's so sad. There's some really, I suppose, if the devil were to say to me, I'm a wonderful person, I should be worried. If there is one person in this country who campaigned against corruption, I don't think they would have done it more than Pravin. You know, when the state capture people came, he stood in the way of that. He was the Minister of Finance, a very capable one. You may recall that at one time, a president decided to bring somebody in. The rand crashed, and they had to call Pravin Gordhan back in quickly, and somebody only lasted for a weekend as a minister.
Yeah.
So
we recall those moments so well as South Africans, and in this moment, where in the house that you've just emerged from, there's a family in deep sadness and in deep mourning. And Tati Mavuso, what did you say to Vanitha? What did you say
you
to
know, the speakers before me had already said, quoting what he has always said, without his family, he would not have been able to achieve this. One person asked if they didn't feel at a certain time, with the kind of pressure that was being piled on him, if they didn't try to persuade him to stop and try and do other things, and they said no. So they have been hurt, I want to say this, by some of the, really, I mean, people who have got any honor, any self-respect do not say things that are being said when somebody has passed, even if you believe them.
What do you have in your mind?
Well, there's a statement that was issued by the EFF. It says things, first of all, it's a lie that the person was corrupt. But you wonder, in fact, how an organization that doesn't quite tell you where it gets its funds, other than what we hear about tobacco smugglers, an organization that gets linked somehow with the VBS scandal, would really have the moral rectitude to condemn, to accuse PG as a corrupt person.
Tati Mavuso, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you so much, Tati Mavuso. And I just want to get a sense from you of how are the families fearing right now? Have they expressed, you expressed that they were quite upset with some of the comments that they're seeing online from political parties, but also from other members. But before we go there, I want to bring in the ANC Secretary General, who is also here. We will speak with you again. Once again, let's bring in the ANC's Secretary General at this stage. Let's listen in.
Reflect that this is a deeply personal moment. You've just come from the family, and it will be interesting for the nation to hear what you had to say to them.
Well, we came now to the family. Yesterday, I was with Comrade PG and the family at the hospital, and we expressed our displeasure about some of the things that were happening in the public domain, and I think many South Africans did agree with us that that kind of behavior of announcing the death of somebody outside the family and so on is un-African and un-South African. And then today we are here with the provincial leadership of the ANC in Gauteng, led by the provincial chair and the provincial secretary. We are here with our Veterans League, the Deputy President, whom you have just spoken to now, and the Secretary General of the Veterans League, the Youth League President, to convey our deepest heartfelt condolences to the family, and to say to the family, you are not alone. But over and above that, we are here to celebrate the life of a giant, a hero of our people. And as the ANC, we commit ourselves that we will participate in the discourse and the national debate about the life of this giant and state what is the truth and the truth only. And we are not here to debate with haters and all of that, because we know that PG's history and life is celebrated by many South Africans because of what he does. And we know that the struggle and the fight against corruption, graft, and state capture has orphans. It doesn't have many supporters. And Pravin Gordhan stood out to fight and to make it a point that he fight for the good of our nation for many generations to come.
When you refer to his haters, who do you have in your mind? Because in an interview that I did with the family earlier today, the one thing that they are so almost adamant about is that they need to present the legacy of their father, of Pravin Gordhan, both the man as a father and a family man, but also the man as a public servant, who they believed has been unfairly treated, maligned. When you say what you've just said, who do you have in your mind, and what is the image that you want South Africans to have of Pravin Gordhan?
Pravin Gordhan, PG, has written his own biography and history whilst he was still alive. He is known by South Africans for what he was. From the days of fighting for liberation and before we were liberated, he was there. In the struggle for liberation. He fought very hard in the underground structures of our movement, and you can count Operation Vula. PG was there, United Democratic Movement, United Democratic Front, mass mobilization, PG was there. When he was deployed and called upon by our people and the ANC to participate and become a civil servant in the new democratic South Africa, he was there. He led SARS diligently, foundations laid, working under the leadership of Trevor Manuel, the presidency of Nelson Mandela, and Thabo Mbeki. PG was there. When PG was given a task to fill in the shoes of Trevor Manuel, and he was there as a Minister of Finance, did an exceptional job. And when he had to be replaced, it was difficult. A person who came after him did not last for a weekend. And then PG was called back to come and lead. And then he went to local government, not by accident. He's a pioneer. The chapter of local government architecture in South Africa was led, chaired by Pravin Gordhan, Vali Musa, and others. In the chapter of the Constitution in the new democratic for the new democratic South Africa in our Constitution. So taking him to local government was not an accident. That was PG. He was given tasks. Public enterprise ran down to ashes because of state capture. You can say what you say, whatever you say, but you know that the PG was there to fight what was wrong, even if it meant against one of our own. He stood firm in leading the struggles against graft, corruption, and state capture. He will be hated by state people who are state capturers. He will be hated by people who are seen to be corrupt. He will be hated. And we don't expect them to love him. But what they cannot erase is the truth and who this man was. And South Africans know that. And it is not even something you've got to do like a motivation. All his deeds, he demonstrated when he was still alive. He was a giant. He was the hero of our people. It's not me saying that. It is the people in the streets, in the social media, everywhere else. As I walk around and I talk and I say, these people pull me up and say that, you know, you just spoke about a man of honor. I was in studios today, producers, guys who are behind the camera, they say to me, SG, Pravin Gordhan was a hero. He needs to be celebrated. And we're doing that, celebrating his life. And we are here today as a movement to convey to the family that you are not alone. You are with us and the rest of South Africa. So as the African National Congress, we know that Pravin Gordhan was an ANC member, a stalwart, a veteran to the end of the African National Congress.
SGA, you speak of his legacy and him being a giant and the PG having such a great history behind him. As you look forward into the GNU and we go forward, what lessons can leaders of the future take from from Pravin Gordhan's life?
PG was a strategist. He always, in every approach, whatever that we do, he will factor in strategic thinking into it. He will understand, as he did, that GNU was a very strategic, detour the ANC have actually taken, and he would have understood that GNU is not an end in itself, but a tactical intervention. So, talking about PG, you would have understood that without going to him and motivate, given the tools of analysis that he actually possessed. Here we talk about, a shrewd and yet well-informed and educated negotiator, special individual. So he's worked with giants in our movement and contributed to the best of his ability. And we know his deeds and we know his intellectual capacity and all of that. And so I think that's what we need to celebrate going forward and let those stories be told. And I was very impressed today with comrades at the press conference who worked with PG, our veterans, and there are many who can tell stories and who will continue to tell stories about PG. Let's not be drowned by haters. Let's not be drowned by people who want to destroy a life well lived. And we say, long live Pravin Gordhan, long live.
Long live. You've just come out from the home and you've spoken with the family and his loved ones. How are their feelings, hearing what you've spoken around just the hatred, but how are they feeling just having the ANC here in their home, coming to give the support?
They are not concerned about hate and all of that. They are very happy that the ANC is here and that millions of South Africans celebrate the life of PG. And that's what they appreciate, the family. And they know the truth. PG has sacrificed a lot, and he loved his family. As comrades would have said, those who worked with him closely, he was a family man and all of that. And the family does.
All right, those are live visuals coming from right outside the home of the fallen minister, former minister Pravin Gordhan.